Hello and welcome to GDW Tutorial 3, Introduction to Unity 2D Skinning. In this tutorial, you will be learning how to use the Unity Skinner to add object bones to create a skeletal system for your sprites. Using this skeletal system, you will be able to pose, deform, and generally change your sprite based on this skeletal system that you've created. If you're looking for hand-ins for this section, please skip to the recap video, as that's where we'll be covering them. Until then, let's get started. All right, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is open up the Google Drive link linked in the description. This is another Unity package, and it comes with assets that are made by me. I am not an artist, so excuse the imperfections that you may find with these items. But after that, after it's done downloading, we're going to open back up Introduction to Unity from last week. And if you remember, we learned how to use the Unity packages last week. So we're going to import tutorial 3 assets. You'll notice there's a lot of stuff. So we've got ladder, we've got snakes. You'll notice they're all straight. That's weird. We've got the start, we've got the goal, we've got our temp board, we've got our board HD, and this one actually has numbers on it. And temp board and board are from last week. So, what are we going to do with all this content? Well, first things first, we want to go in here, right-click, prefab, unpack, because we don't want to edit the actual prefab, because we want to keep this. This is something we worked hard on. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into snakes, and we're going to delete all our snakes. Go into ladders. You know what? We're going to Control Z. We're going to keep our snakes. This is a good opportunity to show you this. So if we click on all these, and then click on this check mark, we disable them. And disabling means they stop rendering. And it's as simple as that. This way we can keep them and use them as one by one. So if we want to make this snake proper with this guy, then we can just enable it and disable it whenever we want. As for the goal and go, we're going to delete both of them. And we're simply going to slap our goal right up here. Now, put it as a child of the board. And then we're going to slap our start right here. Make it a child of the board. Again, so when it is like this, it is not inside board. So we drag it and make it in board. You can also reorganize, put goal up top, etc. But what do we want to do next? Well, what does our board have? So we have a whole bunch of ladders that we can use. So, and as you can see, they don't start on the right layer. So we want to put this on 1. We want to make sure to put our goal and start on 1 as well, so it always draws on top of our board. Now this one draws on top. So we're going to bring this back. Rather, we're going to re-enable all of our ladders. And then we are going to overlay this new ladder right on top. There we go. Now we've got our ladder 2. We want this to be a child ladder. So now it's right on top. And now we're going to change it to layer 1. And we're going to keep going. And as you can see, we just need to make it a little bigger. There we go. Now it's going from there to there. And then we want to add our ladder 3. Change it to layer 1. Overlay it. And then for this one, because there's 2 of them, we're just going to Control C, Control V. And we're going to overlay it again. It's like this one's a little off. There we go. That's better. And then last but not least, we're going to add our green ladder, set it to layer 1, overlay it. There we go. And then lastly, we're going to, there we go. And now, if we just select all of these, now we've got our ladders, just like we had before. And we can rename these. Ladder 4, ladder 5, and ladder 6. So you might have noticed that this isn't actually the content for today's tutorial, and I just deleted the old ladders. You might have actually noticed that this isn't the content for the tutorial. The real content for the tutorial is how do we make this guy place him here. How do we make this guy, like, we can do this. It doesn't actually bend like this. So how do we do it? Well, Unity has this really cool system. If we go to click on the asset, click on Sprite Editor, and it should start on Sprite Editor. I don't know why it started on Skinning Editor, but that's actually the one we want to go to. So go from Sprite Editor and then go to Skinning Editor, and you'll notice we have a straight line. So adding a skeleton to a snake is as simple as drawing a straight line of bones. But in order to do that first, we have to make our object break down into multiple pieces. So what we're going to do in order to do that is press Auto Geometry, Generate for all visible. And so all this did was create a whole bunch of geometry at curve points. So right here, this geometry makes it so that it can bend its head better. And you'll learn more about proper geometry usage and creation in later classes in later years, if you so choose to take them. But the gist of this is just that this automatically generated a whole bunch of pieces of this object that can break down, and we can use them to pose our snake in order to create this curve look. Because right now, he's pretty straight, he's pretty stiff. So what we're going to do is we're going to press on Visibility. I'm going to remove that so we can actually see our object. We're going to press Create Bone. I'm going to double click our object, and this is our head bone. So we're going to click right at the head. This is already slightly tilted forward. So we're going to grab it like this. This place is mostly slightly down. And you want to try and end bones at a vertice connector, as it just makes it easier later on. And you want to typically make them pretty even, especially in an object like this. You want to have control over your snake. You don't want to have too much control. So we're going two triangles per bone. And then last, our tail. And then you right click if you've selected it, and it'll cancel the bone. So left click to create, right click to cancel. And now, okay, we've got bones. But they don't really do anything. Just exist. So we want to control Z, all of that, because we want it to be straight, just like this. So this is called weighting. So our vertices are not linked to these bones yet, as you can see. There's nothing connecting them. You want to select everything. Select all. Got to make sure that you've selected all, so make sure to do a box select. And then we want to go to auto weights, and you'll notice that everything's selected now. So what we're going to do is generate weights. And if we look at visibility, go right here, you'll notice these colors. So each one corresponds to the bone. So this bone handles deforming these vertices. This bone handles deforming these. And where you see them blending, that's where they'll mix. So if we preview pose now, you'll notice I have all the bones selected at once, so it's curving all of them. So what we want to do is we want to just select one, select none, and then we want to preview. You see these portions that I mentioned will allow it to bend. They bend inwards like that, just like that, to allow for curving. So we can do this, 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 this. And the root bone will always edit the position. Whereas if I click on this and edit the position, it'll stretch it. There we go. We've got a curved, all curved. So we're going to control Z, obviously. We want it to be straight by default. This is just a temporary pose. However, if you edit it, and you don't have control Z, you edit it too much, you can't control Z it anymore. If you want to, what you can do is just click this button up here, reset pose. So now it's back to default. So what we are going to do is number one, we're going to call it the root. So this head bone is our root bone. This is the bone that if we want to move the object, we just move this bone. Whereas if we move this bone, it's just going to do that. If we move this bone, it's going to do that. This bone, only the root bone will move the object. So if we press reset pose, and then we press apply, we go back to our scene. You'll notice our snake that we already put on the screen doesn't have anything. If we grab another one, it still doesn't have anything. So what we need to do is go to add component, write in skin, and this adds a sprite skin. You will notice that it is entirely empty until you press create bones. Then all of a sudden, all the objects and all the bones and everything suddenly appear. And you'll notice that if we look, each bone is actually under our snake. Each piece is separate. However, for right now, all we care about is this. So reset. So if you ever want to reset it, you can just press that. So what we're going to try and do is and you can click not on a bone and it'll still allow you to move, but if you click on the root bone, it'll also allow you to move. So we want this one to be looking like this, just like on this image. Put this at -1. Just like this image, we want our snake. And you have to touch the tail of the bone in order to make it so that the bone will resize, will rotate. If you want the bone to rotate, you've got to touch the tail specifically. If you want it to be gradual, you want to rotate them all separately. Just a little. If you want to create a gradual curve, you want to rotate them all like so. This one's going this way, and then this one's going slightly this way, and then this one's going more that way, and so on. So what we're going to create here is, and we can slightly edit that. Yeah. Slightly rotate that. And if you remember, we can also still just go over here and rotate it like this. Or we can write in 90 degrees. Things like that. But now we've done our first snake. That was our very first snake. So under this snake, we're going to just delete them. So we want to create all the snakes in here. So I'm going to pause and get to doing that. But I want you to continue doing it while, obviously it'll be a second for you. But yeah. One thing I forgot to mention, actually. Now we have this first one done. Technically we can just go here, you know. That's no fun. This is the same sprite. We don't want that. So what are we going to do? Well, if we go back to the sprite editor, there's actually a copy button. So if we copy and select our snake 2, and then paste, and we have to select the object, so double click on the object, and then paste bones and paste mesh. Now if we just go to preview pose and select only one, they all work. So you can do that for every single one. Just make sure to press apply, paste, select object, preview pose, select only one. It works. Set pose. And then snake 4, paste, select object, paste, preview pose, select only one. And it works. Reset pose, apply. So now we've got all of these edited nicely. They've all got bones if you select them. They've all got geometry and they've all got weighting. So now I'm going to use these to create each and every one of the snakes on this board. And we're done. So I finished adding every single snake. But one thing that we didn't add was our new board background. So what we're going to do is we are going to go here. See this Sprite button? I'm going to replace it. And it's as simple as that. Didn't have to resize anything, just replaced it. So now we can see all the numbers on the way up to 100. And that is everything for today. 2D skinning is a very useful tool that will allow you to create single sprites. You can even create humans or animals and pose them using their different limbs, using this spriting system, using this skinning system. A snake is just one example. Yeah. On to the recap.